Hi, my name is Michael Dell. I'm a Ganawage Rono living with special needs. Back in October, I was interviewed by Gadawagat Sedir. Here's a clip of that interview.
Community member Michael Dell has lived in Ganawage all his life. Born with cerebral palsy, Michael has taken it upon himself to spread awareness about the challenges facing those living with physical disabilities and special needs here in Ganawage. As Michael explains, the drive to educate the community originated from a promise made to a friend.
For people in Ganawage that remember the late June DeLille, she was the director of Academy Memorial Hospital Center for a long time. When she was getting ready to move on into the spirit world, this was a long time ago before it happened, she said, when I'm gone, you have to continue my work. My vision came to me one night as I was sleeping. I said, something's got to be done, and this is my words and my story. When I was interviewed, I had an idea for a show for people from Ganawage living with disabilities. Today is the start of that show, Walk in My World. Often, people with disabilities lead sheltered lives, and their interactions are limited to caregivers and family members. I hope this show will bring you awareness of these people, their families, their lives, and their dreams for the future. The first person I'd like you to meet, he's a 17-year-old Ganawage Rono living with autism. His mother, Linda, has graciously agreed to come and speak about his life. Hi, Linda. Thank you for coming to speak about Aruni Ande and autism.
No problem. Happy to be here. My son's name is Ariahande Bova, and he has autism. The official definition for autism is that it's a developmental disability that typically appears in kids before the age of 3. It's a neurological disorder that affects the functioning of the brain in the areas of communication and social interaction. So he basically has a tough time communicating and, in effect, is in his own world. How he's affected basically is that his communication level is that of an 18-month to a 2-year-old. He has a very small vocabulary of single words and an occasional 2-word sentences. He can be obsessive about things. We need to be careful when we see that he's focusing too much on something because they can lead to aggressive behavior. He also has hypo and hyper sensitivities to certain stimuli. And what that means is that for his senses, sight, sound, hearing, touch, he can either be very sensitive or not at all sensitive. For example, he's hyposensitive to touch, so he doesn't know when he comes out of the shower if he's wet, he can't feel it. He doesn't know if he has food on his face or any liquid because he can't feel it. And in order for him to feel something, you have to really hug him or squeeze him really tightly for him to get the sense of any sort of touch. And we're working on that through occupational therapy right now. We're trying to stimulate his nervous system to be able so he can function better.
How old was he when you discovered something was wrong?
Well, if I look back honestly with 2020 hindsight, I would say that I probably noticed something at the age of 6 months. But at the time, although he was reaching his milestones a little late, he was still reaching them. But at 16 months, he started to lose some of the words that he had acquired, and it became apparent that something was wrong. And when he did get his immunization at 18 months, he got really sick, and within a week was self-abusive and lost whatever language he had acquired by that point. This obviously prompted medical and psychological interventions. And when he was almost 2, at about 22 months, he was assessed and given an unofficial diagnosis of autism.
What happened then?
Well, he was immediately enrolled in step-by-step on a part-time basis because of the severity of his symptoms, until they found a full-time spot for him in February 1994. At that time, we had also started to go through over a 2-year process to obtain an official diagnosis, and this involved a full gamut of testing, medical, psychiatric, psychological testing with specialists in order to obtain that diagnosis.
What were some of the hardest issues you and your family faced when he was growing up?
Okay. There were so many. The running away phase was fun. I didn't have to worry about getting my cardio between the ages of 4 and 10. He was potty trained at the age of 9, so that was nice. His lack of fear or knowledge that fear existed in the world was something that was really difficult. You know, safety was a huge concern. He would run into the street, he would jump in water, he would jump off tall structures. He had no knowledge of fear at all. Puberty was not something I want to go through again. It was really tough, and we're still not completely through it, so we'll see what happens. But acceptance, I think, in the community is a big one. You know, having him be accepted, or having him to be able to go about his daily routine and just be accepted in the community would be awesome.
What are some of the hardest challenges now for taking care of a growing person with autism?
Well, essentially, physically, he is a man. He's a man who cannot live independently and who functions at a toddler level. So, whereas one might see this 6'3", 227-pound monster walking towards them, he's basically just a big giant man baby. You know, and he probably just wants the toy in your hand or likes the color of your shirt, but he might want your soda or your food too. So size and strength come into play there. They're both enormous, and something that we have to take into consideration and deal with on a daily basis. Hygiene, being a man, physically, you know, the hygiene issues are challenging at times, you know, and those duties are relegated to the mom. So I take care of that for the most part. And one of the big ones too is because he's nonverbal, you know, having to take care of him medically. You know, he can't tell me when he's sick, he can't tell me when he's hurting, and he can't tell me what it is that hurts. So there's a whole process that you have to go through to find out physically what hurts, and then if it's internal, find out where it hurts, and then take him to the hospital if he needs to. Again, people's perception of him, you know, he's really big, but he's a sweetheart, and people don't easily see that right away. They look at the physical before they take the time to get to know him, and I guess acceptance.
Talk to us a bit more about Aruna Honde's life, like what he does every day.
With people with autism, structure is very important. So in the summer and in the winter, his schedules are different, but they're the same in that they have to be structured pretty much the entire time. During the school year, he wakes up and he has a regular morning routine until he gets on the bus and goes to school. After school, he goes to the Teen Social Club, which has just expanded from a 2-day to a 5-day program, which is awesome. When he leaves there, he comes home and we have dinner and he brushes his teeth. And in the evening is basically the only time that he has an opportunity to have unstructured activities, so he can watch TV or whatever the family's doing, he can come with us, or if it's something that he can't do, then one of us stays home with him while the others go do whatever it is that they have to do. And that happens until pajamas, bedtime. Pajamas, pill, bedtime. And that's pretty much his routine. In the summer, it's a little looser. He goes to camp, usually for a week or two in the summer, and they have a summer program this year, day camp from 10 to 3, I believe, and he'll be going to that. And we haven't really confirmed all of the arrangements for this summer, but that's basically what happens. He has a day camp and he goes away to camp for a week or two, and we fill in the rest with family stuff.
Does he have any special likes or interests?
Well, he hates to listen and likes to do whatever it is that he likes to do, just like any other teenager. You know, his worst nightmare is to run errands with mom on the weekend and do groceries. But if I had to pick something, I'd say he likes trains, he likes any sort of motorized vehicles, he loves to go boating, swimming. he likes bikes, and he loves computers and TV. But that brings us back to the obsessive behavior, so we have to be careful about those.
How do you see the future for him?
Happy, I hope. He's going to be 18 soon, so at this point he's not able to live independently. I don't see in the near future where he will be. We're considering a number of options right now, and as is the case in this economy and in the community, funding is always an issue. So I'm not really sure. We're working on it, and we'll see.
What role can the community play in helping to improve his quality of life?
If we're talking about community programming, over the years I've gone to a number of different communities and provinces to look at what type of services they have there, and shared living is an environment that is really beneficial to people with autism, and a great help to parents who need respite. And it's basically where the client would move into someone's home and they would provide respite for a specific amount of time or a longer period of time, depending on what the criteria is. And the client would then move home or go home and visit, and whatever the arrangement is. But it's not a group home setting, it's more shared living. So you're actually living in a family environment, but not your family, because they need respite. I think that the community needs something like that here, to provide that type of respite for families. So that means physical structures and funding to do that. Again, acceptance in the community. I'm not saying that he's not accepted, but for people to be more open to learn about disabilities in the community, to not be afraid when they see, someone in a wheelchair or someone who you can see is obviously has special needs. Just to ask questions, just to be open.
Do you have any advice for parents who are just beginning to deal with their children's disability?
One of the most difficult things, I think, with getting a diagnosis of autism or something else is the emotional effect that it has on you at the time that it happens. So while you're grieving about what could have been and struggling emotionally, unfortunately that's the same time that you need to act. You have to be strong, and you need to act on behalf of your child. It's really tough to do because you are grieving and struggling so much. So the advice I would give is to learn as much as you can. Don't discount any theory or any educational opportunity or any treatment that you come across until you do the research. Find somebody who you can talk to, or it doesn't even have to be two-way, just find someone who will listen to you, because you'll need to get all that stuff out. Lean on your husband or your wife or your spouse. Just lean on each other. Chuck is my rock. He although we realize how difficult and how tough a situation we live in on a daily basis, he brings humor to it, and he lets me see that, it doesn't have to be serious, even though we're in a serious situation. And fight. You're going to have to fight. Fight as hard as you can, because that's your child. And it should be fine.
Any final words?
Just that I've had some of the best questions and conversations about autism come from small kids. They're very honest. And it's funny when it happens, because when they ask a question that is seemingly inappropriate, I guess, in adults' eyes, everybody stops and listens to what my response is, because they want to know, but they're too afraid to ask. And I guess my final word is, don't be afraid. We're not going to be insulted. Don't be too shy. Approach us. Ask questions like a 4-year-old. We'd be happy to answer.
Well, that is the end of our first episode of 5. If you have any comments or questions, you can email me at del.michael@hotmail.com. We would really like to hear from you. Tune in for our next episode, when we will present another person from our community with special needs. Ona.